this to work. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Toku Portal Podcast. I am Rai, and with me is...
Decade.
And... and I'm really sick. Sorry. Welcome to the round table for Engine Sentai Go-Onger. Originally, we were going to do this alongside the Amazons movie, but that didn't pan out. So, Decade.
Yep.
You saw all of Go-Onger?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And... so... Sorry. So, just a general consensus. How do you feel about the characters now, 10 years later? Pretty much the same as where they left off?
Well, I like that at first. They kind of weren't. They had pretty much lost their touch. And Saki basically calls them out for losing that positive energy that they once had. But I like how by the end of the movie they're kind of back to their old selves.
Yeah. Like... except for Sosuke, who's still, like, very childish, even at the beginning, and the whole part of the point is that, like, hey, you need to grow up a little bit. And, any specific characters you want to talk about? Of the Go-Ongers, I mean.
I don't know. I just like that. I really like that moment when Hirota was basically telling them how he ended up in the junk world, and then Sosuke and Hanto just laugh at him for being so unlucky. That's just one of the things I really liked about that Sentai, is that they're always kind of just teasing each other and having fun.
Yeah. I did really enjoy the opening where Sosuke and Blue, I forget his name, are like undercover, and just the way they present themselves when they do that. Like,
Yeah.
you'd think for a moment that they gotten all professional and serious.
Nope, just have a fake afro.
Yep. The fakest afro, too. Holy shit. It was interesting to me that, what's Yellow's name?
Is it Miyu?
Is it? No, Miyu is silver. Saki.
Saki.
Where Saki is the one that they chose to kind of be the focus of the movie. Because the last Sentai movie we got for Kyu Ranger vs. Gavin was also like Hame focus, so feels like we're focusing on a lot on the female Sentai members lately, and I really like that because they don't always get the most screen time in shows.
True.
And the way they went about it too, where like you have to wonder if she betrayed them or if she has like her reasons. Turns out she was just kind of scared in the end. At least
Yeah, that was an interesting kind of dynamic. Is how a Sentai member feels like now that they're no longer needed, and she was
Right.
just kind of worried.
And you have this recurring theme of how does the rest of the Sentai react to one of their own, essentially a member of their own family, betraying them? Because here, they didn't take it very well at all. As opposed to in the Key Ranger movie where they had civil war over it.
Yep.
Uh, um, any more on Saki that you need to say, or?
I just really love. Okay, so basically, for anyone who hasn't watched the movie, she's pretending to be a bad guy. She's not actually a bad guy, but she's wearing one of these chips made by the new enemies that turns her into a monster. So basically,
More about that later, though, because wow.
yeah, yeah. I just really like the scene when they saved her and kind of woke her up, because it's just so easy to forget after watching a Sentai or a Kamen Rider or any show. Just like the smaller, lighthearted moments, you really just remember the big plot stuff. So that little montage with her and interacting with
Oh yeah.
each character was just great.
I love that they pulled clips from the series itself. All of those moments are ones that we saw happen once before. And that kind of added to the emotional impact of that scene of them rescuing her.
Yep.
I also like the trope of like a character has their personal demons or like that thing from their past that comes back to haunt them, and now their new friends have to like help them with it. This wasn't that, but this had that same kind of feel to it where she's in trouble and they're going all out to save her in this situation. Also, I suppose we should talk about the repercussions of how Sentai got fucking banned in this movie.
Yeah.
Basically, Hitori rather, whatever his name is, tried to warn whoever to stop, not do the gates thing that'll block the other worlds. And when it did anyways, it blew up and he got accused of being the one to blow everything up. So hey, if the Go-Ongers are gonna go rogue, let's ban them and make them illegal. And so now you have the heroes on the run. Oh, the way we open, like they're technically the outlaws. And the people that once looked up to them as heroes now see them as renegade criminals.
I like that we didn't go with the cheesy thing of like, oh, all the people are just hypnotized. No, they were really just kind of brainwashed, because I'm sure every single newspaper and news television channel said, oh, this Go-Onger was a terrorist. We should ban Sentai.
Yeah, no.
So that was interesting.
Everyone was in their own state of mind. But through the power of politics, the once heroes are now the villains. Sort of. And you can definitely get a good feel for their frustration and despair in the beginning, where they feel like they can't do anything because of the situation they're in, but they're still trying. Uh, Now the villains. I forget what the villain leader was named. It was
I just know what the race is. Zontark or whatever. Zontark. As opposed to Gaiark.
yeah, Zontark. Noizumi and Graysky.
Mm-hmm.
Noizumi was the leader, and Graysky was his like #1 minion, an assassin with a giant gun. As far as villains go, sometimes simple is best, and this wasn't the best, but these were pretty solid villains for this movie. Like, given a bit more dedication, they could be like the actual villains to a long-running series. But for just this movie, they were all they needed to be, and that's really all I ask for. Villains that felt like they were worth the time.
Yeah, and both actors were veteran Toku actors, so that made it better. But I just love how their very creation was because the 3 Gaiark ministers basically screwed up. Just made them by accident.
The 3 Gaiark ministers, who are still alive, I guess. I do like the idea that they migrated to Junk World and decided, you know what, this is fine. Because that was a question that I had during the main series when I was watching it. Like what's wrong with Junk World for them? Isn't that what they're after? I guess not, but in this movie it shows that like they've settled for it. And they don't hate the Go-Ongers after what happened in the finale in the main series. They're pretty cool with them, which is... for these villains, it's pretty nice because they were always comedic villains anyways, and they rarely ever felt threatening.
Yep.
So to see them decide to just be chill is... I can appreciate it for these guys. How do you feel?
Yeah, they were... I mean, I teared up a little bit when they died the first time. But when they went as far as to actually help the Go-Ongers and fend off Guresuki or whatever, yeah, that was pretty great. And then, of course, Kegareshia's transformation. That was unexpected.
Oh man, that was super unexpected. Keigoreshia becoming a temporary Go-On Yellow. Like, it even still had her fucking dial on the top of her head. Words cannot describe the joy that I felt watching this. It was like watching some kind of parody, except it's canon.
That's basically the charm of Go-Ongers.
Yeah.
80% of the time, it just does not take itself seriously. But when it does, it's really good.
Sorry about that. Yeah, this Go-Onger's whole thing about, like, being able to jump between serious and goofy has always been on point. And this is, like, a perfect example of that. Keigoreshia becoming Go-On Yellow for a few minutes. And actually being sad when she has to give it up. Like, oh, I wanted to fight a bit longer. Uh, were you done talking about the Zontark?
I thought the main one's excessive cell phone design was kind of silly. I mean, his main weapon is a selfie stick spear, but it was fun at the same time.
Yeah, okay. His monster suit is a good example of too much of over design. I get what they're going for with the whole like motherboard look on him, and the pattern is fine, but the bulkiness of it makes it excessive. And I feel like they could have trimmed a little fat to make it look a bit better. Like the villain himself, questionable suit is what I'm saying.
Yep.
So the engines. I was a little sad we didn't get to see a bit more of the actual engine, seeing how they're supposed to be half the team here. But I guess there were those limitations. So we got to focus on Bear R and her separation from Saki.
Yeah, I would agree. If this was maybe a bit longer, we could have actually had the engines do something and have a mech fight. But this was pretty short, less than an hour.
We also didn't get that proper mech fight, which, did this movie really need it? No, but it's still a Sentai trope, and we didn't even get a mech in this episode. We got a CGI representation of a mech that hasn't appeared in the main series. But because of the way the CGI was done, it was a little hard to actually like get a good look at it, and it was gone in 5 seconds. With that being said, they did blow up the main villain without him getting big using their mech. So, points for that. The unique 7 mech combination, I have mixed feelings about it. Again, I would have liked to have actually been able to look at it, but I can understand that maybe this movie didn't have a very high budget. But also, it kind of kills the pattern that the Go-Ongers had going for them, which was that their mechs were always in groups of 3. G3, G6, G9, and then finally G12. But here we just get the core 7. Anything, Decade?
Nope. I would agree.
Alright. So, the story as a whole. The Go-Ongers are outlawed. And the main villain is trying to take over the world for its protection. Like, hey, if everyone conforms and I'm in control of it, humanity will survive. Except will it? Will turning them all into monster slaves really save it? It's always an interesting story of the best way to protect something must be to, like, shelter it and close it off, which takes away free will and action and agency. But so, of course, people are willing to take the risk to have those things. But this is what creates an interesting villain of, I just want to protect you, even at the cost of you.
Yeah, but man, Sasuke's counter argument and then the whole tying it back to Soji, who you think is just some random kid like in every other movie, but no, he was actually someone that Gohan Red saved. And basically Sasuke says there's always going to be a new generation of people to fight for good.
Right.
That was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I love Sasuke.
Yeah, the villain makes an argument of what's going to happen when you heroes are gone? Who's going to protect the world? The next generation of heroes. If the fighting doesn't stop, then neither do we. I mean, the goal of every hero who fights is to end the fighting. But if they fail, and the fighting is still happening, then there'll always be another to take up the mantle. Alright. Is that everything?
Let's see.
We could have gone a bit more into the individual Go-Ongers, but there really isn't much to say about them individually.
Just in general, I think the Go-Ongers have a really cool roll call.
Oh, yeah.
They basically say something kind of about their personality. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, they all have
For
that.
those that haven't watched.
They all have a catchphrase that is a part of their personality. It's a bit of who they are. Mach full force. Sosuke is always charging forward to be number one. Gold's break the limit. Like, he is always pushing himself to be stronger. He doesn't want to fall behind and get weak. Their roll call is a big part of their personality. And just the way it comes together is really cool too. Like, especially when they do their, like, spin arounds with, like, the screeching tire noises.
Yeah. And they have they're basically two teams in one.
Yeah. I said this before, the Go-On Wings are a perfect two-man Sentai.
I'm a little bit sad that their theme didn't play while they were fighting. Such a fun theme.
The final battle tree we got here was a really good way to send it off. I felt that in a couple of cases he was defeated a bit too easily, but ultimately it was enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, and the ending was pretty cute with Soji standing up to the bullies from the beginning of the movie.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Like, stand up for yourself. Sometimes that's all you gotta do.
Or for others, since there's a little girl getting picked on.
Because bullies won't stop if no one tries telling them to stop. Is that everything?
Uh, I wish they danced at the end, but it
Uh,
was still fun hearing the song again in the background. Well, I think this is actually a new version of the ending, but
yeah, actually, I think it was some kind of like remix.
yeah, I'll have to look for it online. But sadly, no dancing. It's okay.
Alright.
Oh, and I liked how Gunpei was trying to put Saki in the original little track jackets that they have. She was the only one that didn't want to wear it.
Oh yeah. 10 years later, and they still have those things.
Yep.
It's all in the end. It's always interesting to see what happens to a Sentai after their show ends. And I know that we get the returns and like the crossovers 1 year later, but the 10 years later are a great look at how things happen. Like Deca Ranger 10 years later showed that like the team had almost all broken up at that point. Here we see most of the team struggling to stay together because in a world that doesn't want them.
I have to say that the Kyoryuger one was freaking hilarious, though.
100 years later,
Yeah.
Kyoryugers are gone and lost forever. No, wait, here they are, sort of.
They're really awkward descendants.
I still don't know if the red and the pink in that one were siblings.
They were.
They were, okay.
Yeah.
Alright. Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. Sorry if this was a little short. We were hoping to have Vashi with us. We'll be back with our regular Sentai and Rider podcast next week. Or this week, I guess. See ya.
Thanks for listening.